Hey, what's up, Trekkies? Okay, so last week Aaron found a post on Tumblr. Someone had asked one of the Star Trek blogs a question about quad nacelles, and that put up, and Aaron like, oh hey, now that we're not doing, Star Trek, online stuff, there hasn't been a lot of stuff posted very recently. They're probably going through a little bit of a, there was the art idea of the intelligent ships, but I do stat stuff. I think the next thing I'll post about Star Trek Online is the idea of what the tier 6 ships actually are, rather than just the intelligent ships, because I don't think they're gonna make us use all intelligent ships. It's cool, but anyways, so Aaron thought I would talk about warp physics, or warp field theorem. That's kind of been a rough question since I was wee-high. Why are there 2 nacelles? Why are there 4 nacelles? Why does, I think one of them, at least in a fan one, had 3 nacelles. The idea behind that, I should have pulled this up on my phone. In order to describe what that is, we need to kind of go over, I need paper, hang on. Okay, got it. We need visual aids for this. I can't shape my hands in that fashion. So, I'm a terrible drawer. So let's go with a galaxy class, because that's pretty easy to draw. We have oval, neck, nacelle, blip, blip, blip. That is terrible. Bulbous that out, and that'll give the idea. Alright, that is a galaxy class starship, because I'm terrible. We all know the Enterprise D. Most people have watched Next Generation. Should have drawn Voyager, but it has a different reason. There's a reason its nacelles fold. We might get into that one. The idea with dual nacelles, which is how most ships work, is kind of a stability of feel. Because if you only have one nacelle, I should have drawn that first. Because there is a ship that the saucer, it goes down and had womp. There's a ship back in the original series that looked like that. Had one single nacelle. It was a terrible, terrible thing. We have to think of this 3-dimensionally, so I'm going to use this one that way. When you have a single nacelle, you have warp field lines that look like this. You can imagine that in like a bubble. Rotate this all the way around. Now that's absolutely useful if you have a tube-like ship, which that one was not. It had a saucer on the top. So the saucer was inside the warp field because the nacelle wasn't quite enough. Go a step back here for a second. Let's explain a warp field. We'll do this with the Enterprise D. But just so you get the idea, with the Enterprise D, is that each of the nacelles has something like that outside of it. So what it kind of tends to look like, and how they interact with each other, is it comes in and it, again, you don't come from my artistic skill. That is a double nacelle. See how it's still the same thing, but it kind of spreads itself apart? Because each nacelle has its field lines. The warp field, now we're going to draw a very basic warp field. 2 lungs, all right? This is what a warp field basically looks like, with the ship in the center. Now, space is all around. ... To think of a warp field, you're not actually moving the ship. That's not the generalized idea, because of the idea with relativity. No object can go faster than light in space. There's a key there. The object, object in the center, is not actually moving. However, space is being moved around the ship. Okay? To think about this thing as an ocean, you aren't moving your boat. The river, space is, the river is moving around you. The world is moving around you. Now that seems a little bit counterintuitive, and that's kind of strange. And that's brought up in Star Trek 2009, where Scotty's like, I never thought of space as the thing that's moving. There's a key there. When space is the thing that's moving and not the ship. The ship is sitting still. And when you have like a paddle boat, when you're rowing, you're not moving yourself, you're moving the water around you. So it's the river that's moving, not you, which doesn't violate the law of relativity. You aren't moving faster than light. Space is moving around you faster than light. Get it? So, now we go back to Enterprise D. 1, this helps because you have wide saucer section. Imagine rowing, because this is very akin to what it is, just rowing is really, really, really slow. What are you gonna do with one paddle? You're gonna be able to paddle pretty well, like with a prop in the back. You're gonna have propulsion in one direction. Yeah, you can kind of lean, and if you can't turn the motor, mind you, you can't turn it. You can just kind of lean your ship, and thus you get working in that direction. Here's where like tanks work in. When you have two, not only do you have double propulsion on both sides, but you can vary the field. Like if this side is going slightly slower than this side because the warp field is grabbing space and moving it rather than moving your ship. So if one side of space is moving slightly faster than the other, you turn. Provides better control. It also provides a stability because, like I said, you have a giant ship, and when you have less of the ship inside or outside the really core internal field, when you have more of the ship inside the core, I'm getting confused here, then you're doing good, and the ship there's more stability at higher speeds. It allows for higher speed. This ship can probably go pretty fast, but it's got to be pretty sleek. Like the Phoenix could have dealt with probably one nacelle, but it had two, and that's a stability thing. When you've got three nacelles, you'd think that would be better, right? So let's saucer section, because the Enterprise D, the retrofit, the Galaxy X, has nacelle, neck. I'm terrible. Yeah. Anyways, that's that. Now think about this. In order to get this nacelle thing, what have you got? You've got this, and you've got multiple nacelles. Stop that. I don't know why I drew that square. But yeah, you see how it becomes kind of triangular. Now this wasn't necessarily solidified in the original. That's why they just put a third one on there, because it looks more advanced. It has third nacelle, because everyone in Next Generation was really used to seeing double nacelles. So if you have three nacelles, it's obviously better. Plus they're able to go over warp 10, which is technically a transwarp, rather than going back in time, which is, that's something else in and of itself. I might talk about that next week. So now when you get down to like the Constellation classes, yeah, new paper, you have, there's that, and let's just, for the sake of everything, that. It's an X-Wing! No, it's not. It's the Stargazer, okay? It has 4 nacelles. And a lot of ships in Star Trek Online have 4 nacelles. Because there's not, especially with a new intelligence ship. Now you have a box with rounded corners. So it's like, see? And, it's pull it in and make it go through the center of the ship, yada yada. But they kind of counteract each other. That's why the people inside the ship aren't necessarily affected, because when the nacelles things go out, they kind of counteract each other, so nothing happens inside the ship. So everything happens outside. That's the explanation there. Pardon me. So, with 4 nacelles, notice how stable that is? Circles are so stable, and this one gets more stable. And that's what it is. It's stability and balance. Now, when you've got, like I said, when you have 1 nacelle, you have pretty much a lot of propulsion, but you can't really turn because you have to vary the field and they're symmetrical. So yeah, when you've got 2, you can roll left and right pretty easily. You can kind of go up and down, but in order to get up and down, you have to like do this in the ship, which is good because the Galaxy is more or less on a flat plane, so you don't have to go up and down sharp. And then when you have 3 nacelles, this was not done in order. Then when you have 3 nacelles, you can go up or you can go down. It's, again, really, really strange. But this is so stable, so wickedly stable, it's not even fun. Now, real quick, now this is Warp Field Theorem. This is, basically what it does. This is the sole idea of a warp field, is that you have space. Now, the idea with the warp field is that you create a pocket universe with your ship in the center. It is still tied to the universe. You don't create a completely separate universe. It's just a slight little, it's like in the terms of it technically looks like across space. Now you have to do this because remember, wormholes look weird. This it looks like that. You've created a small pocket, and what happens is that it pulls space in, zips it around the other side. Now, you have to visualize this because we think really, this is a 2-dimensional representation of something. It's like a gravity well. Anyway, so this happens. It's not subsected from the universe. It's still a part of the universe. It's just that it's separate and it moves space really fast. But the ship itself is not moving in terms of the outside of space. It's rolling space around it. Again, we're going over this really hard to understand. I get it, but it's really hard. So now you ask, why do Voyager's nacelles fold? 1, it's cool looking. 2, oh wow. Call this Voyager. Gotcha? Okay. Because it's long and its nacelles are way in the back. And they're kind of tiny for what they are. In order to get a decent warp field, its warp field looks like this. Because in one of the Next Generation episodes, there were ships going at warp were causing damage to subspace. I will find out what episode that is. Put it over here. So this is Voyager's warp field. It clips outside the warp field, is the issue. Now, basically, it's like using the Galaxy class, you have a fat warp field. I grant you inside the show, it certainly shows more spherical, but it's really, really fat. And it can definitely cause damage. It's like trying to push a sphere through water, or kind of a fat rowboat. You can still get through the water, it's all very effective, but you're gonna disturb the water a lot, versus if you just take a canoe. Now, because it's such a slender warp field, its engines are actually outside in the area, in the very back part. However, if you look at its generalized profile, when its nacelles are folded up, hand twitched on the coffee, nacelles get brought in really close when they're folded up so that it comes in line. So the ship has a more efficient warp field. See, even skinnier. So the ship goes from looking like this to like this. That's if you look from a top down, because that's how the folding nacelles work. It only works from top down, because, yeah. And like I said, it's just cool. So that's why Voyager's nacelles fold, is because it creates a slender warp field because they had been working on a new way of designing warp fields so that it doesn't damage subspace. Because Enterprise D and various other ships, now you'd think that, like the Excelsior class, is a really slender ship, but it was based on older technology. I mean, the Excelsior ship and the design of the base ship was built back in the original series, well, the original series movies. Star Trek 3 is the Excelsior, for a ship with the transwarp drive, yada yada. But we'd had 4 nacelles beyond that. We had 1 nacelle with that other little tiny ship. The Kelvin had 1 nacelle, because that's what it was. It was 1 nacelle, figured it'd be easy, but then it was like inefficient, so we stuck 2 nacelles on them. Realized they had a better balancing thing when dealing with space turbulence. 4 nacelles did the better thing because it rounded out the whole field, and it could be you could sustain it for a long period of time and make slow course adjustments and go with. It was only the Royal Constellation that had it. I know the new cruiser intelligence ship has 4 nacelles. So there's that. Also, you don't have to run each engine as hard so they can go for longer. I guess the idea is, unicycle will still get you somewhere, but you have to balance a lot. A bicycle gets even better. A tricycle is like really stable, but notice you kind of, when you turn one way, you're like, wah! Like a bike. And when you have a car, move slow, but you can go for a long period of time. I grant you there is the idea of mode of transportation, but 4 wheels is so much more stable than even 3. So that's that. And then what's the deal with Voyager and its folding nacelles? That's just so they could get a sleeker, it's more aerodynamical. That's that. So I hope this was informative with my very, very craptastic visual aids. That's just a brief overview of what I've learned after reading encyclopedias, Memory Alpha, and all that happy jazz. I will find the Memory Alpha article, I will put it downstairs, and you guys live long and prosper.